Good day to everyone here on Zoom who's joining us for today for the second job fair. And of course, also good day to our viewers on the YouTube transmission as well. So while we are waiting for more participants to join us today, you may enter the slide of presentation and we are going to flash a QR code so you can join us there on Slido. And also you can use the beautiful background that we have prepared for today. You can download it from the chat box. So please scan the QR code. And we want to know, what are your expectations for today? What do you want to see during this event? Okay, we have to break the typing. Don't be shy and share with us what are your expectations. Okay, we'll start with a good one. And I think a lot of people agree with this, is to see job opportunities. Let's see what our organizations have for us to do. To learn about inspiring organizations in the world, that's a good one. It's a really good one. We have pretty amazing people today here, and we hope to learn a lot from them. Finding job opportunities, yes. To see some examples of work opportunities in the forest sector, yes, that's a good one. To learn more about forestry organizations in different regions, that's a really good point. This is why our job fair today is really special, because we have different regions here today. To hear from the speakers, yes, pretty amazing people today here. To get useful contacts. Oh, this is a good one. We have a plenary session about that. Internship opportunities, get a clear idea where I hope I can apply for jobs. This is a good one for those who are not graduated yet. This is a good opportunity to see what is happening out there. Learning about various options inside the forestry sector, networking, extend my network. That's really good. You are interested in this one, and I think you're gonna love our plenary session regarding this topic. Get to know new organizations that might be interesting to work for. Good one. To hear from the forest sector next gen. Develop useful skills. Seek opportunities. To learn about job opportunities for foresters like me outside my home country. That's why this is pretty good event, because we have opportunities in different regions, and I think you're gonna love it. Okay, we have 2 more participants typing. Listening and learning, good one. Learn about job opportunities around the world. Okay, 1 more participant is typing. You can also type in the chat box if you want, if you don't have access to the Slido. All right, so as we are seeing here, most people is looking here for job opportunities and see what is out there. And we hope this event can answer those questions for you. So let's start with this. Thank you so much for submitting your expectations for today. So now we can start. So good day, everyone. Welcome to the second IFSA virtual job fair. So this year with the team transcending regional boundaries. So I'm Jasmine Lopez from IFSA and I will be your host today. So first of all, we would like to thank you for your participation in this event. As you may know, last year IFSA organized the very first job fair, which was the first one of its kind. And IFSA initiated this program to provide a venue for forestry students around the world to network with organizations that are involved in forestry and related sectors. And as you can see on our team, this year, it's really special because today we are transcending regional boundaries. Today we have the opportunity to interact with regional or local organizations and companies. So today's agenda, it's going to start with the opening remarks and how this event is related with the IFSA strategy. And also we are continuing with 2 plenary sessions. The job fair will also give us an opportunity to learn from the FEO Forestry Officer, Elaine Springgay, about empowering young professionals in the forestry sector. So with this one, I think one of your expectations are going to be accomplished. And we will also learn how to networking is a powerful tool to shape our career from Irene Sakellari, active member of GYBN, and our very own president, Agustin Rosselló. So before we go to the breakout rooms, we will take a quick picture of all of us here, and then we are going to move to the different rooms for the next sessions. And at the end, we are going to come back for closing remarks and some important announcements that we have for you. So I hope you are really excited today because we are. So please show us how excited you are reacting here in the Zoom. For those who are here, send some hearts. Let us see your expectations for today. Yes, a lot of hearts. Perfect. So I hope you can enjoy this event a lot. So before we begin the program, we would like to remind you again some following house rules. So this is for having a better experience for all of us. So first of all, kindly mute yourself for the entirety of the event. To ensure this, our Zoom administrators are going to be automatically muting attendees. Also, please take note that after our discussions, we're having a Q&A portion. So you can send your questions here through this Slido, or you can also type it on the chat box. You can also use the option of raising hand in case we have time for that. In case of internet connectivity issues, please take note of the Zoom credentials so you can rejoin our conference. And as you can see, we are recording this webinar. So this is for documentation purposes. So we are asking you for an appropriate behavior for the entirety of the event. So please keep that in mind. And lastly, if you're having any difficult technical difficulties or issues, we should help you with this. You can ask to any of the people who's host on this event. And of course, if your internet connection is failing a little bit, you can also watch the transmission on our YouTube channel. So now, without further ado, let's start with this event and with our opening remarks. And for this, let us welcome the Internal Counselor of the International Forestry Students Association, IFSA, Isabel de la Paz.
So hello, everyone. I'm Isabel Claire de la Paz, the current Internal Counselor of IFSA and the coordinator of the IFSA Virtual Job Fair. On behalf of IFSA, we are very grateful to have such motivated participants here, and of course, our distinguished speakers and participating organizations from all around the world. In 2022, we had our first ever virtual job fair where we invited 5 global organizations to present their opportunities, and 2 speakers, Ms. Juliet Teng from EFI and Mr. Andre Puret from IFRO, share their knowledge during our plenary sessions. More than 100 IFSA members joined the call, making our first job fair a great success. This year, the 2023 IFSA Virtual Job Fair will be focusing on regional opportunities for our IFSA members with the theme Transcending Regional Boundaries. We invited Ms. Elaine Springgay from FAO, Ms. Irene Sacalari from Youth and Landscapes, and our IFSA President Agustin Rosea as our plenary session speakers later. And I hope that you are as excited as I am. And the cherry on top for today is that we have an astounding 12 regional organizations from all around the world presenting their opportunities for all of us. I hope that you're excited for RECOF TC, PF Olsen, Forest Products Commission, and HVP Plantations in the Asia Pacific Breakout Room, ECN and Bondi International in the African Breakout Room, CNVP, European Forest Institute, Forest Stewardship Council, and the European Forest Association in the European Breakout Room, and of course, Reforestamos and Maderacre in the Latin American Breakout Room. In IFSA, we believe that one of the many ways we empower our members is through the provision of opportunities. The job fair is aligned with our goals of promoting networking and exchange of experiences, preparing students for employment opportunities, and communicating global opportunities with everyone. And I hope that today, every one of us here will be granted the opportunity to launch our careers in the forestry sector, and of course, learn more about how we, as students and young professionals, can begin our journey of improvement with the help of IFSA and the participating organizations. I hope that today will be a significant step in shaping your career in the forestry sector, because after all, that's what we aim for our IFSA members. Again, I am Isabel. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the job fair.
Thank you so much, Isabel, for this very warm welcome to our participants and as well our organizations that are joining us today. So now let us begin the virtual job fair by introducing our first speaker for the first plenary session titled Empowering Young Professionals in the Forestry Sector. So she is a FAO's Forestry Officer for Agroforestry and has over 14 years of experience working in international development and integrated, community-based natural resources management and climate-smart agriculture. A Canadian national, she identifies as a global citizen, having lived in 12 countries on 6 continents. Wow. Prior to joining FAO headquarters in Rome, Italy in 2015, she worked with NGOs or government agencies in Canada, Ghana, the Philippines, and Uganda, primarily focused on community forest management, livelihood, and capacity development initiatives. She is also an advocate for youth, particularly young professionals. She's the founder and chair of the Global Network for Forestry Young Professionals, ForYP, a new network launched in May 2022 that creates a space for the forest sector's new generation, younger experts, and middle management to connect, share experiences, and advocate for greater career development opportunities. She has a bachelor in both environmental geography and history from the University of Toronto, and a master's in forestry from the Australian National University. So now, without further ado, let us welcome the amazing Ms. Elaine Springgay.
Thank you so much, Jasmine, for that introduction. I'll share my screen if that's okay. So here we go.
Yes.
Can you see that okay?
Not yet.
Not yet. Let's try that again. There we go. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so thank you, Isabel, IFSA, for the invitation to talk about how we're empowering young professionals in the forestry sector. And yeah, today I will be representing ForYP, or the Global Network for Forestry Young Professionals. So I think the best way to start is to first talk about who are youth and young professionals. I think generally when we see youth being represented in the forest sector, there are often students, job seekers, entry-level employees, but because youth are usually defined up to 35 years old, that actually includes young professionals who have a little bit more experience, including myself. I have almost 15 years worth of experience, but I still identify as a young professional, maybe on the tail end though. So in terms of where we see representation, we've got students associations covering students, job seekers, and entry-level employees, and young professionals who go a little further into mid-career professionals. And as you can see, what people are wanting to get or what their goals are differs as you progress through your career. So as a student, obviously your main priority will be graduating, followed by figuring out what your next step is. And eventually you're focused less on getting a job and more on proving yourself, building skills, and establishing a career, and not just focusing on getting jobs. And eventually that also means having job and career security. And at some point, like myself, you've achieved those things. And increasingly you're more interested in how to create work-life balance. So what does a young professional's forest sector look like? Because this has changed also over time. So right now, we're seeing a movement from traditional forestry jobs or silviculture-based jobs to more green jobs, and including forest conservation. In general, the forestry sector is aging. I think a report in the EU said that the average age of forestry professionals was somewhere in the mid to late 40s. So that's telling us in terms of where the demographics lie. There is also generally low recruitment, and we're seeing expertise loss. But meanwhile, the new recruits tend to have more soft skills, transferable skills, and there's less hard skills that have been developed. And that's partly a reflection of how forestry education has changed over time. Unfortunately, we're also seeing increased job insecurity amongst young professionals because the contracts are not as appealing. They have low wages, they have limited benefits. They also tend to be shorter term contracts. So again, the younger professionals who are starting to get the jobs, the idea of establishing a career is becoming more and more of a challenge. And young professionals, because they tend to be less represented in youth discussions, have lower visibility. And so what we're often seeing is it's disjointed. We've got good representation of more senior generations in the forestry sector speaking to very young, or actually people who are not in the forestry sector yet, but want to be. And meanwhile, we're missing some of the other generations from the forestry sector in conversations about where the forestry sector is and will be going. So, before we started ForYP, we actually did a survey to better understand what are the challenges that young professionals face currently. And we had over, I think, 615 or 600 participants from almost 80 countries reply. And I think what's interesting is a lot of these challenges young professionals face are probably very similar or resonate to some of the challenges students face as well. So they see that landing their first job is challenging, but even beyond that, gaining the necessary experience and knowledge is difficult. Mentorship and training is lacking even when you're within the sector. Finding proper pay and proper value for your work, and finding that work-life balance is a challenge, which also means advancement within the sector is a challenge. Unfortunately, there is still quite a bit of discrimination. I think the forestry sector has sometimes been called an old boys club, and this can be, and so we're seeing, and we still see that today, even though there are a lot of efforts to address gender gaps within the sector, we still see gender and age discrimination, and there tends to be a more conventional or traditional mindset in terms of how you get into the sector and how you advance within the sector. And what's, I think, particularly interesting in why ForYP was established is this idea of networking. Right now, as I said, because the younger generations within the sector are not necessarily represented in conferences, events, etc., it means meeting one's peers as a young professional is very challenging. So we're not meeting our peers and colleagues from a similar level of experience and maybe some perspectives until actually we're much older and further into our in the sector and in our careers than some other sectors are. And so this ultimately means that people feel isolated, and that establishing credibility within their sector and being linked to other people is an obstacle. So this is why ForYP was established, to address the limited horizontal networking opportunities, because there's lots of vertical, so meeting people who are more senior than you, but meeting people at the same level as you has been a challenge. We also looked at what are the existing networks, professional associations in the sector, and a lot of these have a geographic focus, or they're catered to more senior audiences, or for students and recent grads like IFSA. So therefore there's, you graduate, you enter the sector, and you fall into kind of a black hole where you lack support and lack a network of people to engage with. We're also seeing that there's limited investment in more interactive services that bring and empower members together. And so this is another reason why ForYP has come to be. And ultimately, we recognize that global challenges need global solutions, which ultimately means global networking and connecting with our peers around the world. So this is why we have ForYP. You're welcome to join us and check out our website at foryp.org. We also have a Facebook and LinkedIn group. And so you're more than welcome to join us and get more involved in our activities. So in terms of who ForYP is, or our mission is really to empower a global, diverse, and inclusive community of young professionals in the forest sector and growing experts. At the end of the day, as we all aspire to be leaders in the forestry sector, and this is where we can start. So we are a global community for young professionals and job seekers. To develop professional skills and confidence, to gain empowerment, but most importantly, to network. And another thing we'd like to try and see is to increase the visibility of young professionals, because at the end of the day, this is where a lot of passion exists. And I think we are better representing where the sector is now and where it will be going, and connecting with the next generation of people who'd like to join the sector to better understand what they need to do to get in, or how they need to adapt and build their careers, because we're doing that currently. And a number of young professionals, including myself, are actually managing and hiring a lot of the young people coming in. So I have interns and young consultants working for me all the time. So I can tell, or other people like me can also say, what we are currently looking for when we're hiring in the sector, and how we found success in the sector. So sharing our stories is a big part of what ForYP would like to achieve. Now, I was asked where ForYP and IFSA could potentially collaborate. Now, obviously, IFSA does an exceptional job bringing students together, but at the same time, there is some overlap in our target audiences. So I really think where ForYP and IFSA can work together is targeting the job seekers and the entry level or early career professionals, because this is where we've got some overlap and where I think a lot of the issues are common. So what could that look like? That could look like joint advocacy and common messaging. So not only asking for greater youth representation, but greater generational or intergenerational representation, including students as well as the young professionals working in the sector. Mentorship is definitely something that I know IFSA has called for, and that is true also for the young professionals in the sector. And the truth is, if we can address that, if we can improve mentorship for the young professionals, because they are the ones already employed by the sector, this will actually also benefit mentorship for students, because we're also going to be, it means we're also creating a culture for mentorship within the sector. I think there's also an opportunity for increased networking opportunities, especially between students and young professionals. It's really great that right now students get to talk to some of the most senior people within the sector. However, they're not the ones necessarily hiring you or connecting with you in the future. And how they got into the sector 20, 25 years ago is not necessarily the same way students will get into the sector today. And the challenges they faced as young professionals and in creating successful careers is not necessarily how a young person has to do that today. So bringing students and young professionals together to better benefit from mutual experiences is, I think, a way ForYP and IFSA can collaborate. I think when we talk about youth advocacy and what youth are demanding and asking for, I think we have to better understand what is already being done by the sector to address youth and the opportunities available for youth. So I would like to see maybe ForYP and IFSA coming together and doing a stock take of what some of those youth programs are and youth activities, and perhaps helping to promote them and even ask for the forestry sector to scale these up to create more opportunities for students and young professionals. And lastly, I think we can have some joint workshops and networking events, because again, there are certain skills and that need to be brought in and built up for students and young professionals alike. And again, I think we need to see more networking events so people who want to come into the sector are meeting those who have recently joined the sector. And so that also, and then, lastly, a mentorship program where IFSA can benefit from mentors who are young professionals, and again, we're creating a kind of a spectrum, or there's a way to graduate from IFSA and move into the sector and still get support. Because I think right now, and this was my experience, when I was a member of IFSA, I graduated, I joined the sector, and all of a sudden I went from having support to zero support. And I think there's a way to keep that support going. And that doesn't have to be addressed by very senior people. This can be addressed by other youth and young professionals. So I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully there's lots of time for some additional questions. Please feel free to reach out to the Global Network for Forestry Young Professionals. And if you want to better know my personal story, actually, on how I got into the forestry sector and how I succeeded in the forestry sector, I was actually interviewed in a podcast, and you can find that on talkingforest.com, episode 74. So if you want to know a little bit about me and hear from another young person on how they've managed to advance in the forestry sector, then a real life story for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Elaine, for this amazing presentation. I think we all love hearing from you and what do you have to say for us. And I'm really looking forward for that collaboration between ForYP and IFSA. I think it's going to be amazing and really helpful for all of us. So thank you so much for your presentation. And now we are proceeding with the open forum. So if you have any questions for our speaker, Elaine, please write it here in the chat box, or you can also scan our QR code. So you can also type it on the Slido. Here is the QR code. It's the same one that we use at the start of the event. So please feel free to write here or in the chat box. I think we all are still going through what you say. It was really, really good. So we have one question from Kamal. Yes.
Shall I ask questions? Hello.
Hi,
Yeah,
Kamal.
am I audible?
Yes, yes.
So
Yes,
first of all, namaste. My name is Kamal Vishal. I'm from Nepal, and I'm also from the forestry background. So I have completed my bachelor degree in forestry in 2012, but it's like more than 10 years that I have worked here in the Nepal also in forestry and the non-forestry project here. And thank you so much for Elaine for a nice presentation. Actually, the problem or the challenges that you stated in the presentation are same here in the Nepal as well. So Nepal is very much forward in sector of the community forestry here in the Nepal, because community forestry is one of the role model forest here in the Nepal, which can be the inspiring thing for other countries to replicate as well. But if you see the challenges in area of the forestry sector here in the Nepal, like there are a lot of trainings that forestry professionals in Nepal have received, but their implementation aspect is very much lacking here in the Nepal. Like people take the training, forestry, when they pass the forestry program and they take the training, but their implementation aspect is lacking. And talking about the mentorship, so there is not like mentorship model in other areas, like in the areas of entrepreneurship development, in the areas of the human rights, women, or gender equality. In other areas, mentorship program is very much effective here in Nepal. But in forestry, if we see, there is no any kind of the networking between the senior, those who have passed, and also with the junior. So there is no any kind of one-to-one mentorship or one-to-one interaction program. So these things are lacking here in the Nepal also. So my concern is like, so the major concern is how can we enhance the capacity of the forestry professional here in the Nepal also? Because as you mentioned, there is a huge generation gap between the forestry professional, those who are working in the government sector, and between the private sectors. So these are the major challenges here in the Nepal that I failed while working in areas of the forestry also. I'm also thinking, how can we address these challenges? That's
Thanks, Kamal, for your question. I think it's a good one. I mean, the reality is the forestry sector, from my personal experience, but also engaging with a lot of your young professionals from around the world, we don't have a very strong culture of mentorship, which in all fairness is also a bit of a North American cultural idea, to be honest. It isn't necessarily existent in Europe, even in other. So I mean, part of it is, you know, making this demand. So and this will be a slow change. There are existing mentorship programs out there, but there is also a lot of material on how to create mentorship relationships with other people, because at the end of the day, it sometimes is about connecting and finding someone, whether at your work or who you've gotten or you've met in your network, who can engage with you and provide that mentorship. But it is important as a mentee to understand what that relationship is and what you want to get out of that mentorship. So I mean, there are formal programs, but you can also do this informally. And sometimes even just trying to actively find that opportunity can create and make changes to the other people you're engaging with, and start creating like a small cultural shift. So I mean, and we've tried to create mentorship programs within FAO. Actually, there's a high demand for this. And so this is another way too. If you're working in an organization that might be open to a mentorship program, look into how to build that program and make it possible, knowing that you have to be practical about it. So don't go into something very formal and where people feel forced, because these mentorship programs or mentorship relationships are voluntary. They should be voluntary. So I mean, there are ways to go about this, and I mean, I'm happy to talk a little bit more about. I mean, reach out to me if you want. Send an email to the ForYP email address or 4YP group. In fact, I'll put it in the chat. Yeah, and we're happy to provide some suggestions or ideas. I think I saw a question about whether there's an application for 4YP. No, the Facebook group does have some questions because we've got some criteria. Like you have to be under 40 or under, have an interest in the forestry sector, but that's possible. What kind of skills would you recommend to focus on developing or becoming an attractive candidate? Honestly, it is a lot how you sell your experiences. So try and get experience however you can. So work, especially when you graduate, even if it's not in the sector, just work, because there are lots of soft skills that are transferable. My first job upon graduating for undergrad was with a bank. It was not in the forestry sector, but then I volunteered for organizations that would allow me to build my forestry skills. And so I was able to sell both of these. And that sort of proactiveness, also how you are able to solve these problems for yourself, are actually all soft skills that are quite appealing to managers. So yeah, I would say one of my biggest struggle as a young professional was breaking into the sector itself. I started my career at 31. So I had jobs before that, but I started my forestry career at 31. And I think that's a reality people need to understand and overcome, is that you will probably be getting a lot of short-term contracts, a lot of internships that are unpaid or underpaid. And this is a reality, but take those opportunities if you can. And for me, I worked in coffee shops. As I said, I worked in a bank. Those were my paid jobs. And then I did volunteer work in the forestry sector or forest adjacent organizations. Because yeah, the reality is you need to earn money, but that doesn't mean that you can't gain experiences. So be open to what it is you're looking for and the opportunities that are there. Don't be so narrow-minded and focused on the end goal, because you might actually limit yourself. What are networking strategies for introverted and quiet people? I don't know where this one comes from. Actually, I think I do know where it comes from, but it's a good question. Believe it or not, I'm introverted, or I was introverted. I'm an extroverted introvert is maybe the best way of putting it. I hate networking, or hated networking. For me, and I hope that this would come up in the next session, which is on networking. Networking, like anything else, it's a relationship. It's like a friendship. So you're more likely to, and for introverted people who don't naturally like to put themselves out there and connect with other people, usually meaningful relationships are what drive introverts to engage. So use that approach when you network. Don't go to every single person out there and just try and talk to them. It will be hard for you. It will probably also not pay out. So I would say, figure out who you are, offer what your strengths are and your experiences to the other person, and just try to connect on a human level, because this will probably get you further in your networking. And you're not going to be able to compete or develop networks the same way an extrovert does. So use that introversion as a strength. The ForYP is open to anyone and everyone. I mean, under the age of 40 who's interested in the forestry sector. So where your nationality is it doesn't matter. So by all means, join ForYP. The more cultures, the more people and representation we have will actually just make ForYP a better organization. So please join any way you can. And I think we're running out of time. If not, I'm already over time. So I will probably leave it there, but by all means, reach out to 4YP, and look forward to seeing you guys at events and collaborating with IFSA in the future.
Thank you so much, Elaine. We already finished on time, so it was perfect. I think we all appreciate your participation here, and hearing from you, it's very inspiring. Because we can all relate with you, and it's so amazing to see what you have accomplished. So thank you so much again on behalf of IFSA and everyone here present. It was amazing presentation, so thank you so much. And now we are moving forward to our second plenary session. As you mentioned it before, I think we can answer those questions here because now we have the second plenary session titled Networking, a Powerful Tool to Shape Your Careers. So for this plenary session, it's going to be more like interesting because we have two amazing speakers. So first of all, we have a young scientist and environmentalist. She's curious and passionate about nature. She has a transdisciplinary academic background, having already obtained a bachelor in chemistry and currently pursuing a master in environmental policy and sustainable development diplomacy in Wageningen University and Research. And she has focused her research on global biodiversity governance and the inclusion of indigenous perspectives and other types of knowledge in global environmental policies. She's an active member of the Global Youth Biodiversity Network and is currently working on developing the GYBN Greece. She's a volunteer communication advisor for the CBD Women for Biodiversity, a global initiative that aims to mainstream the intersectionality of gender and the environment in the global policies. Deeply interested in ecofeminism and gender justice, and she's also the co-founder of the Not Just Fashion movement, working to spark a conversation in Greece regarding women's rights and sustainability issues in the fashion industry. So pretty great speaker we have here. So welcome everyone. She is Irene Takelari. Thank you so much. And also joining us this session, we have a very important person for us. He's a forestry graduate from the Pontifical Catholic University of Chile. With a long path in IFSA, he has been head of the International Process Commission, head of the organizing committee of the IFSA, Chile 2022, and currently serving as the IFSA president for this term. He did an internship at IUPRO headquarters in Vienna and worked as a scientist consultant for the regional representative of FAO Latin America and the Caribbean. So without further ado, welcome to our Mr. President, Agustín Rosselló. So welcome both of our speakers. For this session, we're having a conversation with both of them. So we have some questions here. And the first one is, what are your experiences in networking with forestry professionals? So Ms. Irene, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. I am so sorry for the background noise. You have to put the blame on the German train system. I'm just for 3 hours now waiting in the train station. I'm so sorry about that. Let me know if you cannot hear me. I'll try to find another spot. Thank you so much, Yasmin, for your nice introduction. I must say, I haven't heard this bio of mine since 3 or 4 years. It's from very, very, very back in the past. I already have my master's degree and the second one after that, but it's totally fine. Thank you so much. And also a very big thank you to Elaine for the wonderful presentation. Mehmet, my email is already in the chat, but I will write it again. So my experience with forestry professionals. So I'm not a forestry professional myself. I'm an environmental scientist. I am an environmental economist. So maybe I can expand this question a little bit more. Environmental science. I think I didn't understand the power of networking until maybe the year I started writing my thesis in the university, when I started traveling for my thesis, and I started meeting people. And for example, a very random moment, I was in the sub-staff for the CBD negotiations back in 2019, before COVID. And over coffee, I met with this woman. She is from the Caribbean. We just started chatting. She asked me what I'm doing there. I told her I'm here to do research for my thesis. Blah, blah, blah. We talked for about an hour. She has been doing incredible things, like working from the high level policy to on the ground with communities. Incredible woman. So the days go by, and 2 days later, I am really trying to get into the room where the IIFB, the International Indigenous Forum for Biodiversity, is having their side negotiations. I don't know how to do it, how to gain their trust. And then I see this woman and she goes like, "Oh, do you want me to introduce you to a few people?" So she literally grabbed me by my hand and she brought me in the room I wanted to be. Literally as simply as that. I met her over coffee. We bonded over our shared, understanding of environmental justice and how important it is to work both on the policy level, but also understand what's actually happening on the ground. So what I want to say from that, and I think it really builds upon what Elaine said before, the word networking, the actual word, is such a poor word to describe the human relationships you can build with other people in the sector. The majority of the people in the environmental sector are not here to make money, are not here to become famous. They are here because they truly believe in a cause, which is having a planet that is safe for the people, but also for living beings, first for decades. If you connect with them on a human level, this is the best way possible to, then have open doors in front of you, not with the intent, of going to develop my career through this person, or I'm going to find a job through this person, but with the actual intention to build a connection, to build a robust foundation of a human relationship and support each other. Because in many senses, the environmental sector is completely against the dominant discourse in the world, which is all about profit and all about growth and all about distraction to an extent. So yeah, I think that's my experience. It's mostly about connecting on a human level. Back to you, Yasmin.
Thank you so much, Irini, for your answer. It's really complicated, but it's good to hear from your experience. So now we're moving to Agustin. You can answer this question too, please.
Thank you, Yas, and good morning all from here from Chile. Cold Chile is starting to enter the winter. We're having some rain, but really glad to be here with you all. And Irini, I see that not only your bio has changed, but also your hair from that photo, but looking nice. And thank you, Elaine, also for your amazing presentation. It was really inspiring, and I take these meaningful connections as being the key of networking. I could say that I am not the best networker that I could be in the world, not by far. But just for giving hope to you, this is a skill that you can start building upon. So like everything, practice starts building the master, and then you will start realizing that maybe less connections or more quality connections are more important than a lot of connections. While we go to, I have had the experience of traveling a lot because of IFSA, representing the organization in different events. And in many of these events, it turns out to be like a competition of who gets more business cards or stuff like that. And I've realized that after all, even though if you can get 50 or 10 or 20 business cards, if they don't turn up to something concrete after the event ends, then they are worth nothing. You can be getting one or two that turn out into something deep, and that is the ones that are really valuable. So I would like to share that with you, that it is possible, even if you are introvert, to form these meaningful connections and create something after the event. I brought like 3 short concrete experiences that I had through this year. First, one was thanks to Elaine, that she invited us as IFSA to speak at a panel in COFO, in the Committee on Forestry this year. And I had the chance to give a speech there on forest education, on what youth was doing and what IFSA was working on. And after I went down, one of the CEO of AFPA, of the Australian Forest Product Association, approached me and told me like, hey, we should talk afterwards in the networking session. And I was like, okay. And after that connection, he invited us as IFSA to 2 panels in Climate COP. And now we have in this job for 2 or 3 organizations from this association. So this is just a quick example of something personal that happened to me, and that how networking works if you form meaningful connections. And a second one was in Committee on Forest and Forest Industry in Geneva, in Switzerland. We went only 3 people, 2 Swiss and me. they had never been exposed to this kind of experiences, and I told them like, yeah, you should approach the Swiss delegates that were ministers and stuff, and they approached them. They had a nice conversation, and after that, the Swiss minister told them like, okay, you three guys can join us in the afternoon for dinner. And it was like, okay, we went back to the hotel, changed, went for dinner, and we ended up having dinner with 5 ministers from different countries, plus the director of Forest Europe. And from then we started talking about stuff, and now we will have also people speaking at the ministerial conference of Forest Europe this year. So even someone that had never been extroverted or have never been exposed to networking, by finding common points with of the same country, for example, or stuff like that, managed to build these connections. So I would just like to encourage you to not be like scared about networking. Find common points with the other people that are there, because we are all in the same path, as Irene was mentioning. And if we manage to find something that is meaningful for both, then for sure we will be able to follow up and create these meaningful connections. That is what networking is all about.
Thank you so much, Agustin. So keep that in mind, quality before quantity. So thank you for that. So now our second question for both is, what online and offline platforms do you use for networking? How do you do this? We start with Irene.
This is a quite fun question. I think the world went into a lot of online networking, especially after COVID, which is also a bit of a, I don't know how to call it, like a little bit of a tedious thing. Like you cannot really build the same relationship from a distance, let's be honest. I know flying is bad for the environment and not everyone has the privilege to be able to travel, etc. But the reality is the relationship cannot be the same unless you can, see the person and sit with them and have a coffee, etc. But nonetheless, we've had a couple of networking meetings in the sense of through my work, the Global Landscapes Forum, and it's always more in terms of like connecting with someone for building a new partnership, etc. So I think my job gives me a lot of space for that. At the same time, while I was a student, I was really, really active in the Global Youth Biodiversity Network. And I think that this gave me a lot of opportunity to network with people, not just with fellow young professionals and students that are interested in biodiversity, but for example, I was able to get to know a lot of the environmental organizations in Europe, be part of conversations, digital conversations that the environmental NGOs in Europe are having. The Women for Biodiversity, which is also a coalition under the umbrella of the CBD, is another, let's say, online networking space that becomes offline in person around the different events that the CBD is doing. And through getting in all these different communities, I think this is my way of usually getting to network, if we want to use this word. But now for LinkedIn and stuff, I wouldn't say I am the best user. I don't know, LinkedIn makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable because everybody has this like very, very positive, happy, I love my job energy and everything is perfect. And here is all of my achievements and I've never struggled in my life. And everything happened perfectly. So I feel because on the internet, we sometimes like to pretend that everything is smooth. It makes me uncomfortable, and I assume it makes others uncomfortable. There are a couple of people, of course, on LinkedIn that are a little bit more honest, or like Elaine here, who was like, no, I actually worked my ass off in coffee shops and banks and whatever. And then I finally started working for something that makes me also happy and makes me feel I add value to society and aligns with my values. So yeah, I would say I truly prefer community building than networking as a language. And there are so many incredible communities out there. And I think IFSA is one of them, for example. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Irene. I can relate with that. Sometimes we only see good things and we don't know what people is struggling. But I think that applies for all social medias. But now, Agustin, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree completely on this impersonal or superficial or trying to hide stuff of social media and LinkedIn, but it's something that it's starting to become a reality, and it's already a reality that we are transitioning into a kind of metaverse world. So we gotta be active there, and sometimes we forget the importance of this. And actually, IFSA was doing an activity before this event that was this bingo on the different things that of networking, of job opportunities, etc. And I saw that in almost all of them, the finding a job through LinkedIn was marked. So it is really important to build your profile and to be active there, because it could bring you opportunities that you never thought of before, like in connecting with people that you don't know. Through this, I would like to go into what I feel more comfortable with and what I like the most, that it is conference or events or stuff like that. And one of the most important things that you have to be aware of is that the first impression that you give to the other person is one that will stay forever. And there is studies that say that you will have to, if you make a bad impression, to change it, you will have to meet with that person around 5 to 7 times again to change it. And how do you manage to do this? You have to sell yourself good, as Elaine was saying before. So first of all, you gotta be dressed correctly to the occasion. So if you are going to a really important conference, suit up or wear a shirt, even though if you don't use it in your normal day. If you are going to a more informal, like, try to be as you should, and that will give the starting point. And then prepare your speech like your elevator pitch kind of presentation, for you to be clear on who you are, what are your intentions, and what do you want to achieve. And from there on, the connection will be easier. But this is something that social media makes it easier right now. So you have much more time to prepare that first impression. That's why LinkedIn, for example, could be something easier to use for someone that is more introvert, or that doesn't have that much experience of talking with people, because you can work on your profile, you can work on that first impression more. And that is what sometimes make it fake, because people tend to work too much on it and stop being real. But after saying all of this, what I like the most for sure is the making the connection, and after that, nourishing it. Like, once I already find a meaningful connection, I feel it's going to be useful for me. I like to go out of not wait for the next event, or not only connect on social media, but to get that person's phone number or email and start connecting, sharing what is going on with each other, how are we doing, updating each other, asking for advice, etc. So I think that networking is not only about making that connection, but also about nourishing it, about using it, taking the experience, and not only for one specific objective of getting a job, for example, or doing a specific project, but also for you learning from that person, because probably if you connect it because you have common points, as I've said before, and because they are interested on seeing you grow, and you can learn from each other. So yeah, I would say that conference for me are really important to make this first connection, and then I like to nourish them. But also LinkedIn is a really important tool that you never should give as granted.
Thank you so much, Agustin. And I think with this, you also answered the question someone did in the plenary session before, from people who's more introvert. So thank you for that too. And now our last question: what online and offline? How can IFSA be used as a platform for networking? Irene, the floor is yours.
You really like the previous question. You wanted to hear our answers again, I guess. Thank you so much, Yasmin. And thank you for your answer as well, Agustin. Good one, because I kind of forgot the type of like events. Events can be really, really fun, especially because people usually are very tired of sessions and they go out where coffee is, and this is a great moment to actually mingle and meet different people. Yes. Oh, true. Yeah, I have to advertise the Global Landscapes Forum events as well, but we're not here for that. So on your question, so I know IFSA mostly through the Youth and Landscapes Initiative, as IFSA is part of the steering committee of this kind of coalition of organizations, together with Youth for Nature and YPART, the Young Professionals for Agricultural Development. I must say that I'm always impressed because I kind of know quite a few people from the history of IFSA. Some of them you might, already know those names like Salina Abraham or Khalil Guatin or Amos as well. I think he was also an IFSA president. And what I always appreciate about IFSA is that, at least through the eyes of these people, I don't know if it's true, and it's also my impression, it's this kind of sense of community, and that you guys, apart from being a students network and doing the serious stuff, you also enjoy becoming friends and working with each other and like collaborating and being creative and having fun and doing all these different things. So I think that IFSA seems like a great community to be part of. And I think this connects really with what Eliane said, because if you look around you, you probably see the future of the forestry sector, right? So the connections you're going to be building through IFSA or through any other youth organization, in my case, for example, the Global Youth Biodiversity Network, are the connections that probably are going to accompany you for the rest of your professional career. Because as you start becoming a young professional, other peers from the IFSA network will start becoming young professionals as well. And you have already a great base, shared values that you have built through IFSA, shared experiences, shared ideas. And then it might be easier. I want to be hopeful. It might be easier to also, address the fallacies that the forestry sector might have, or the things that are not working, because these shared values might allow you to negotiate better. So, for example, imagine one of you becoming the negotiator in a global conference for one country and another one becoming for another country. Maybe your relationship through IFSA would allow you to also see the human in the other person, right? And be able to maybe have a better conversation, a better negotiation with this person for transforming the sector, or for bringing the transformative policy, or implementing that policy, or collaborating more instead of competing. And I know that this sounds maybe potentially a bit romantic and a bit too hopeful, but I think it's important to also hold on to that hope, right? And communities like IFSA is definitely a place to find this hope, to build this network. And while others are growing in their career, and while you are growing in your career, I think this sector and the environmental sector in general can have a great future. Back to you, Yasmin.
Thank you so much. And I love the way you talk about this. It was great. Thank you. And Agustin, now the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jess. Do you have enough time for me to answer this question? Because
Yes,
it's too much.
yes,
No,
you have time for you.
No, but I agree 100% with what Irene was saying, and it looks like if she was in UNFF this year, 2 weeks ago, we went with a 12-people delegation of 8 different countries to New York UN headquarters, and we went to the United Nations Forum on Forest session, and one of the negotiators, the lead negotiator of Australia, is Jesse Mahoney, and he used to be IFSA president as well. And there was a session where we were supposed to express the contributions from the major group Children and Youth that it's represented by IFSA in this process. And they didn't give us the space because there was no time. And the next morning, after talking with Jesse, he took the floor and he said, guys, the distinguished delegates, I think that it is really important that we give the chance to these major groups to express their opinion. So then Canada also supported this motion, and we were given the space. So it's definitely like that. It's not a romantic perspective. It is how it works. We as IFSA are a family, and everyone is invited to join this family. Everywhere I go, I have been able to join, luckily, a lot of conferences in this year. And everywhere you go, you see IFSA alumni. There is a planned IFSA dinner with the alumni. All of them are in amazing positions. All of them are keen to work, and all of these guys that are incredibly busy, like Jesse that was negotiating for a country. He always tells me like, man, for IFSA, I always have time. So anything you need, please call me. Salina, Abraham, GLF Africa manager, same. Florent Kaiser, CEO of Global Forest Generation, the same. So all the time that you meet someone from IFSA and you tell them that you are also in this process, they will connect with you instantly. And it is like what I was telling before in the networking about the Swiss girls that met this Swiss minister, and the point of connections was the country. Our point of connection with people from all over the world is IFSA. So if someone passed through IFSA, it will be much easier to build this network. The network is already there. You just got to access it and take advantage of it in some sense. Always looking for making it grow and trying to promote more people to join IFSA and to build a stronger family in some sense. But yeah, I couldn't express how important this community or network has been for me. All of my network is based through IFSA, and I would like to extend the same advice or thing that everyone tells to me and has told to me in every conference. If any one of you present here at any point wants any advice or wants to connect or has any questions, please reach out to me. I would be more than glad to have a conversation, help you in anything you might need. I'm sure I will learn a lot from you as well. So yeah, just my door is always open. You can hit me an email, a WhatsApp, whatever. And through IFSA, we are all together trying to build a better forestry sector. And as our mission says, a world that appreciates forests. So thank you.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Mr. President. And now thank you both our speakers for this. It was really amazing to hear from you and what did you have to say to all of us. And now to time constriction, we don't have time for the Q&A session, but you can always reach out to our speakers. We have your email, so we can share with the rest of participants here. And now, before we continue, let's take a quick picture. So if you can, please open your cameras. Belle, are you taking the picture?
Yes, I am. Okay, so everyone smile for the first page. We have 5 pages, so please keep your smiles. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. For the second slide, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Third slide, everyone, please smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay. Now for the fourth slide, 1, 2, 3. And our last one, our fifth slide, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Please don't leave because we're continuing with this, but we wanted a quick picture while everyone is still here. And thank you so much. I think my face hurts a little bit now, but it's because I'm really happy for this event. I'm really learning a lot, and I hope you are also learning a lot. So now we're moving to our breakout room session. So for this, I think everyone is waiting for this. I see a lot of people writing in the chat box about opportunities. So I think we're gonna love now this time. So we have 4 breakout rooms, each one for a different region. And the first one is for Europe. The second one is for Asia Pacific. The third one is for Africa. And the fourth one is for Latin America. So in each one of these, we have different organizations or companies that they are going to talk us a little bit more about them and what are they expecting from us, and beautiful opportunities for all of us. So now we are going to move to the breakout room. It's going to be for half an hour. So we'll see you here in 2 minutes. And I hope you enjoy all of this space that we prepared for you. So please tell us if anyone have problems to go to the breakout room. If not, I hope everything goes smoothly. So thank you so much and see you in 2 minutes. Welcome back. Yes, we can stop the music. So welcome back, everyone. Some breakout rooms are still working on. So while we're waiting, I'm gonna ask you to join us back on Slido. So we have a quick question for you while we're waiting. So here is the QR code in case you haven't scanned it yet. So first of all, we have this question. How much did you enjoy your breakout room? Let us know what you think. In a scale from 1 to 5, okay, a 4. Okay, we see in the chat 5 from 5. That's good one. Come on, don't be shy. Join us on Slido, or also you can type it in the chat box, whatever the option is better for you. Sorry for the dogs. Okay, I see a lot of people enjoy a lot your breakout room. I hope we finish your expectations, achieve your expectations. So, okay, thank you all for voting. We have another question. Please describe us your experience in your breakout room. You can also, if you want, you can raise your hand and share with us a little bit about your experience. Okay, Belle, you want to share with us your experience?
It was really nice. That's why I voted 5 in the previous question, because I think this is the beauty of this year's job. Last year, we only got to add just one organization that we were in the breakout room in with. But now we had the chance to go to breakout rooms that has regions that I'm interested in working in the future. So in my case, I visited Europe and Asia Pacific breakout rooms. So it was really interesting to see how diverse also the job opportunities are in those two break.
Thank you so much, Mel, for sharing with us. I see some cool words here in your experience, informative as the main one, and I hope you all enjoy all of it. So maybe someone else from the room wants to share your experience. It can be a real quick. People is already finishing their breakout room. Maybe Nico.
Yeah, I learned a lot for Mother Acre presentation and the important role that this forestry company is having in conservation, both fauna and flora in Peru. So really interesting.
That is great, Nico. Thank you so much. Christus, you want to share with us?
In the Africa, I was in the Africa breakout room and was really so available at both Bondi and ECN, and also of course building connection with the ECN and the Bondi officials, plus also finding new friends in the breakout room. It was really, really amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christus. It was excellent to have a great experience in your breakout room. So now, welcome back, everyone. We already finished all our breakout rooms. While we were waiting, we were sharing a little bit of our experience. So now that we have already everyone here, yes, that's correct. Yes. Okay. So thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us until this moment. We have some extensions during the breakout rooms, but it was like a lot of information. We really wanted to people know more. And so thank you so much for staying. So now we are getting to the end of our event. But for this, we have some closing remarks plus some announcements. So please stay with us until the last minute. I know we already took a lot of time, but we are almost there. So for closing remarks, we want to first thank to our organizations and companies that joined today. It was really great to hear from you, your work and the opportunities that you have from people like us. So it was great here. And we have some special things to do for people from Australia, who is already 2 a.m. almost, or more or less. So thank you so much for staying until really early in the morning. So thank you so much. But also thank you to all of the amazing organizations and companies. And we also want to thank to our speakers from the 2 first plenary sessions. Thank you for being so honest with us, like being realistic and share a lot of tips with us. I think it's going to be super helpful for everyone here. So thank you, everyone. And of course, to all our participants who are staying here until the last moment. I hope you enjoyed a lot the event. And if you want, you can also watch the recordings from last job fair. Also, the plenary sessions there were so great. So this can help you more in building your career. So thank you for this. And now we have some announcements for this. If for some reason you couldn't join to all the breakout rooms, please stay tuned to our YouTube channel. There you can watch all the recordings from each one of the breakout rooms and also from the plenary sessions. This is going to be posted pretty soon. And also we invite you to visit our job fair page. There's going to be a lot of information there. And if you want to get a certificate of participation, stay tuned to your email because we are sending you an evaluation form so you can get one. So thank you so much. And now we move. Yes, thank you everyone for joining us, for staying on the last moment. And I hope you enjoyed a lot this event. And stay tuned to IFSA social media for more events. So thank you and have a good day or night wherever you are.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yes. Gracias.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Muchas gracias. Chao, chao.